Hey everybody, Jordan Capper here with Investing Storage, talking about the actual meat of this self-storage deal, Diamond B Self-Storage in Searcy, Arkansas. I would encourage you, this is the most important video, right? The actual numbers, the pro forma. I would encourage you to watch our other three videos. I tried to break things up so I don't just give you a big info dump, an hour-long presentation that you got to sit through, but I have those other three videos on the current digital presence of all the competitors, which I think there's a lot of opportunity there. This is not a hyper competitive digital landscape in Searcy, Arkansas. I have a video on how I would manage this thing using the Stora.co platform, which is 99 bucks a month, an awesome cost effective alternative to ESS. Of note, no financial relationship there. I just think they really are a great new kind of up and coming management software. And then finally, I talk about all the little value adds of this facility, from signage to all the other different ways that you can kind of build this facility up. So definitely watch those. But let's get into the meat of it. Let's get into the pro forma and a little bit about Ben and I. We founded Investing Storage. We are two owner operators that build, rehab, and buy self storage facilities around the country. This deal came across our plate. Well, I should say this deal we found and negotiated with the current owner a price that we think is fair. We're bringing it to market for 225. We're passing along this deal because we are building a brand new facility in February. Again, two-man team. We just don't have the bandwidth to bring this thing up to the caliber that we think it should be at. That's where the work of rant to preaching to the choir here, but that's where the work of a lot of these facilities is in this initial kind of bringing it to the modern age. I mean, this thing is ran on a spiral notebook that's written down in pen. And there's work with bringing the management software into this facility, the website, the Google listing, all of that, and we just don't have the bandwidth. So we're passing the deal along to you guys. Let's get into it. Here's our pro forma. Let's jump right into the actual numbers. I'll move my face here. The valuation, this thing's worth 275, 300 at year 3, 4, and 5. It's a good facility. We're asking 225 for it. We think it's a very fair price, and we think you can get this thing up and running really nicely. And I'll go through some of the basics here of how you would go about doing it. Now, to get into the kind of basics of what the facility looks like, we said 30,000 is going to be your pro forma gross revenue, and that is based off of exact numbers, pulling data from other facilities. These aren't like stretched numbers here. I'll go into the specifics of how we came up with that. The expenses about $5,000, 5,057. Right now, the owner is paying 2,200, 2,300 about per month. All he's paying for is taxes and his insurance. The landscaping is very, very minimal. He does it all himself. And so with that 22, 2,300 that he's paying currently, I would recommend over doubling that. And that's going to be your management software, automating your landscaping, things like that. So your expenses are going to go up if you want to run this thing properly. Yeah, there's opportunity to keep those down even further if you want to do some of this stuff hands on. But here you see our taxes, the loan payment. Now look, you don't have to finance this deal how I have it here. This is just a sample, 225 purchase price at 20% down payment. The interest here at 7%. You can do this thing however you want, right? You can do it cash, you can do a hard money thing and do it cash, and then refinancing it. But either way, these are just sample numbers, so keep that in mind when it comes to the loan payments. The facility, 5,600 square foot. Current occupancy, this number of units, I have that blank. I'll kind of get into that in a second here. There's 47 units, but you can change this to 56 really easily, and we'll play with those numbers in a sec. I'll get into that specifics. No gate, no fence. I wouldn't add one. This facility, there hasn't been a break in years. It's just not a major issue here. I would consider adding some solar powered LED lights. I can, if you want, I'll send you the link to that. There's a set of them that a lot of these guys have used from Amazon. They're not expensive. They're 30 bucks a piece. They just screw right into the side of the building and they work really well. They last for years. I have them on a couple of my facilities that I didn't want to run electric to. And of course, then you don't have to pay for electric. So I would add some lighting. Forget the fence. You don't need the fence here. This thing does fine without it. Metal build, metal construction, metal roof. So rehab estimates, you want to add a couple $100 for those lights, sure, add it, but that's it. There's no rehab that needs to be done. The supply and demand, so this current market, and that's what I dug into in those other videos. I dig into the digital presence. This market is oversaturated from a pure numbers standpoint, but if you look at, I have here, you look at some of this competition, this facility here, the storage house, these guys are 92, 96,000 square foot. They're huge. They don't even have a website, right? You look at another similar competitor, these guys, Affordable Self Storage of Searcy. This is your standard ESS site. These guys are ranked at number 3 on Google for the generic search term self-storage Searcy, Arkansas. And that's searching in Google, incognito tab in Chrome with no location enabled. So that's a pretty accurate result. And this simple ESS site is ranking number 3. And you know, these guys have a wait list. So what am I getting at? Yeah, this place is oversaturated when it comes to a pure numbers standpoint, but there is room to compete digitally, absolutely. And I think you take a look at that Affordable Self Storage of Searcy website with this wait list. I think there's your evidence right there. So the unit mix I mentioned before, how many units is this thing? Currently it's 47. Now, the layout is very simple. I'll just type right in here. Hopefully it doesn't mess up our Excel spreadsheet. This thing is 5,600 square foot, and that's really all 10 by 10s. Okay, so it's 56 10 by 10s. But what the owner did, you see the total square footage I have here is at 5,600. What the current owner did was he removed some of the, and these are door on one side, door on the other side type setup. He removed that inner wall and he made some of the 10 by 10s into 10 by 20s, which then actually have 2 entrances, right? There's 2 doors. So if you want to change this thing back to all 10 by 10s, which is what I would consider doing, it's a very low price, and you're going to you're going to increase your revenue because the price per square foot is much lower in that 10 by 20, and we can play around with that. Actually, we'll do that right now. If you just add a wall there and change this all to 10 by 10s, you see, let's see what we go to. You go to 32, almost 33,000 versus, what was it before? There you go, 30 to 30,600 to almost 33,000. So a decent jump there. I would consider doing that. Although it does seem like these 10 by 20s are in significant demand. As far as the numbers that I'm using, like I said, I'm not stretching these. Is directly from Radius Plus. Look, I pulled this data from Radius Plus and then I go back, I manually verify every single thing. The Radius Plus data looks good for this location. Sometimes Radius Plus is not terribly accurate. You got to confirm it. That said, here's your 10 by 10 right there, 49 bucks a month. I'm setting these at market average. If you can push, look, 75, 120. If you want to push this market, by all means, push the market and you can drive this up even further. You'll note I have this very kind of conservative 3%. God help us with inflation currently. This isn't even in route with inflation. It'll be like 10, 20. Okay, enough political commentary. But yeah, I think you can drive these prices a little bit further as well. Where were we? Our unit mix. So back to the unit mix. Just saying these numbers, 49 bucks, 77 bucks. That's exactly, you see what the averages are. 10 by 20, 77, 10 by 10, 49. So no fancy footwork there, just very straightforward. You can play around with these. Maybe we'll do it at the end. The loan am tab here, like I said, however you want to finance this thing, it's not a huge deal. If you want to just bring cash, close this thing, it's not a huge amount to swing. 225, you close on this thing overnight, boom, done. Or if you want to find financing of some sort, I just put this in here because just to give you a number for what you think the payment would be on a theoretical loan that you might end up getting. Now, the expenses tab, this is, I talk about this on the value add presentation, but this is important, right? Right now, the owner is only paying these two, the real estate and the insurance. I would add, I would add all of these. So I would add every single one of those right there. Advertising, management software, lawn care, credit card, that puts you at this 5,000. Like I said, to bring this facility into the modern age and not operate it on a spiral notebook, which I guess I should have added previously, spiral notebook related expenses, just a joke there. So anyway, anyways, I would add an advertising budget. You can update the management software, obviously. I mentioned store.co. They're 99 bucks a month, which is what this is. And then, of course, credit card processing fees, which are going to scale with your revenue. But if you note, this tab is coming directly from the processing fees, scaling with that gross revenue. So, yeah, 5,000 bucks, a very reasonable. No water, no electric, no gas, no internet. This is a simple facility. And then the actual meat of it, the purchase price here and the down payment here. I'll just pull in all that from that loan in tab. I have these annual rent escalation, 3%. Like I said, God knows what inflation will be over the next coming years. Maybe society will completely collapse and we'll all be living in our self-storage facilities. But yeah, so it goes. I have it at 3%. You try to keep prices down, the expenses are going to slowly chug up as well. You just try to keep those down and really fight to keep those lower and fight to up your rental rates as well. What do we have here? The economic occupancy. I have this thing stabilized at 90%. Look, he's at 42% right now. You don't really have to rent out too many units per month to get this thing up to 90% occupancy. It's only 56 units even if you divide it all into those 10 by 10s. And looking at the numbers, he has a lot of move outs. The data is not perfect because, like I said, this is all ran on a spiral notebook, but it looks like the fact that he's collecting checks and cash physically making those customers go and meet him either at the facility or at a local supermarket, whatever. If you got to drive every single month to go pay your self storage bill, that's probably going to increase the chance that you say, you know what, maybe I don't need self-storage versus the old set it and forget it, which is the reason we all love self-storage. They set it and they forget it. Getting into the economic occupancy here, of course, you set it at 90%. You're going to keep driving those rates up. That puts your gross potential income here, slowly going up with this annual rent escalator. Economic vacancy, again, that's just 10%. Because you're setting the economic occupancy at 90 and you got your revenues here. You're going to slowly go up and up with your expenses. Of course, we know about that. These are just all being pulled from that expense tab, which I mentioned before. Yeah, it gives you your NOI. Look, again, these are just interest and principal stuff. That's whatever. If you buy this thing cash, it's going to cash flow a lot more, right? If you buy it cash and you don't have a loan payment, this thing's doing 25,000 bucks per year. It can make good money if you buy it cash. If not, it's still easy. It's cash flowing easily, right? 6,000, 8,000, and this first 6,000 at 85% economic occupancy. You're still going to cash flow with a good amount of wiggle room, $8, $9, $10,000 of wiggle room. And then the big, and my head's in the way here on year 8, 9, and 10, so it goes. But yeah, this is the kind of exit strategy or all the important stuff. You can take a look at this yourself, but to go through some of these things, NOI, everybody knows that, your debt service coverage ratio, that's with that theoretical loan. People like to look at it. You got a 1.42 here, the remaining principal. Now, all these calculations, I like to look at all these tiny little things. Some of them might be a little bit, like what the heck why do you care about refi, cash out minus down payment plus cumulative cash flow? It's just little stuff that I like to look at, which you can kind of restate some of these things, and I'll go through them here in a sec. But yeah, remaining principal on your loan, that's just going to go down. in accordance with your loan am. Of course, your estimated cap rate at refi, I got this set at 9%. You can play with that. Maybe interest rates get a little better and don't just devastate us. And you put that at 8. And of course, let's see, what's our valuation do? Our valuation obviously would go up. I think if you get this thing running and you make it a almost fully automated facility, you hear my kid screaming in the background. I'm going to train him to do self-storage one day. He's only 4 years old. But yeah, I think if you take this facility, you get it up and running, you can push an 8% cap rate. That's very reasonable, especially in the upcoming years where, God help us, interest rates don't go to like 50%. So we'll change that back to 9 so that we're not overly aggressive with our numbers here. But again, like I said, 275, 290, 300K. That's our valuation, and that's really, I mean, that's the bulk of it. A lot of this stuff is numbers that I like to look at, like the refi amount. So this is basically saying, what if you want to do a BRRRR, if you will, and refi this facility? So you buy it, you operate it, and you get its valuation up. Well, your refi amount, you're typically going to refi at about 70%. Yeah, you're going to refi them at 70%. Some of these places will do 75%. I just have it at 70% here. Your cash out at refi would be, can you put cash back into your pocket after the refi, which after year 2, the answer to that is yes. Then the refi cash out minus the down payment is basically saying how much total cash is in this deal, including the down payment. So if you can refi a place and get all your down payment back, that's absolutely huge. And you see down here, what is G? Year 4, down year 4, year 5, you're almost ready to fully get all your cash out if you refi this, including your down payment. And then I actually look at another little thing, which is to say, at the time of refi, including all of your cash flow, how much money is left in your pocket. And that's where I start going in here. Your cumulative cash flow, your refi cash out minus down payment, plus your cumulative cash flow. So basically, when do you have $0 in this deal and it's just making you money? And that's right here at year 3. If you include all that cash flow from year 1, 2, and 3, at the end of year 3, you're gonna break even, have no cash in this deal, and it's just gonna be making you money. So that's nice. I know it's a little complex, but that's the way I look at a lot of this. Of course, you can look at your cap rate, you can look at your annual cash on cash return, your equity multiple, things like that. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, that's kind of the basics of it. That's the way we're looking at this deal. That's why we're asking for 225. You got my number here, or you got my email, I should say. It's Jordan at Investing Storage. Actually, we'll pull you up here. Look, forget my email or my name or whatever. Go to investingstorage.com. All my contact info is right here on the bottom, Jordan at investingstorage.com. That's going to be the best way to get a hold of me for this specific deal. You can message Ben as well. Heck, message both of us. But yeah, reach out, Jordan at investingstorage.com. If you have any questions, we're absolutely glad to work with you. If you're a first-time self-storage operator, we're absolutely glad to give you any advice on this deal. Like I said, it's an awesome deal. We were going to go about doing this ourselves, but we are building a brand new facility and we're super excited about it. We just don't have the bandwidth, so we're going to pass this thing along, and we're here for you and willing to answer any questions. I wish you all the very best.